Forgot to unmute my mic. Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to Coffee Night. Hello, hello. Hi, night. How are you? Hello. So today we're gonna be reading a little bit of Lord of the Rings. I hope my volume is not too loud for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy the little ambiance I put. Some nice rain. Since you guys voted, hi Finley. I didn't know if my mic would be a little too low to understand what the heck I'm saying. Oh my god, Jesus Christ. I hope everybody can hear me. I hope everybody can hear me very well. So, today, as a vote, everybody asked for me to read Lord of the Rings. I'll try to keep my voice as steady and as low as possible. No promises. As you can see, I almost broke character a little bit too much. So, um, just in case anybody is interested in following, here I will put up uh the the freaking book so you can follow. There you are. I'm not sure if it's gonna be a great way for you to read, but I hope that today will have a nice little comfy, cozy, rainy day on stream. I don't know how long we'll keep going. I'll see if I can do at least until the start of chapter 2. So I hope everybody is nice and cozy and warm, and I hope everybody is ready to have a nice little moment of calm, the moment of Bob Ross and everything else. Wow. Alright. Chapter 1, A Long Expected Party. When Mr. Bilbo Baggins of Bag End announced that he would shortly be celebrating his 111st birthday with a party of special magnificence, there was much talk and excitement in Hobbington. Bilbo was very rich and very peculiar, and when the wonder of the Shire for 60 years, ever since his remarkable disappearance and unexpected return, the riches he had brought back from his travels had now become a local legend, and it was probably believed, whatever the folk might say, that the hill at Bag End was full of tunnels stuffed with treasure. And if that was not enough for fame, there was also his prolonged vigor to marvel at. Time wore on, but it seemed to have little effect on Mr. Baggins. At 90, he was much of the same as his 50. At 99, they began to call him well presented, well preserved, but unchanged. Would have been would have been near the mark. There were some that shook their heads and thought that it was too much of a good thing. But it seemed unfair that anyone should possess apparently perpetual youth as well as repugnantly inexcusable wealth. It will have to be paid for, they said. It isn't natural, and trouble will come of it. But so far trouble had not come, as Mr. Baggins was generous with his money. Most people were willing to forgive him his oddities, his good fortune. He remained on visiting terms with his relatives, except, of course, the Sackville Bagginses. and had many devoted admirers among the hobbits of poor and the unimportant families. But he had no close friends until some of his younger cousins began to grow up. The eldest of those, and Bilbo's favorite, was young Frodo Baggins. When Bilbo was 99, he adopted Frodo as his heir, and brought him to live at Bag End, and the hopes of Sackville Bagginses were finally dashed. Bilbo and Frodo happened to have the same birthday, September 22nd. You had better come and live here, Frodo, my lad, Bilbo one day, said Bilbo one day. And then we can celebrate our birthday parties comfortably together. And at that time, Frodo was still in his tweens, and as the hobbits called the irresponsible 20s between childhood and coming of age at 33. 12 more years passed. Each year, the Bagginses had given very lively combined birthday parties. At Bag End, now it was understood that something quite exceptional was being planned for that autumn. Bilbo was going to be 11, 111, a rather curious number, but a very respectable age for a hobbit. The old took the old Took himself had already reached 130, and Frodo was going to be 33, 33, an important number, the date of his coming of age. Tongues began to wag in Hobbiton and Baywater, and rumor of the event traveled all over the Shire. The history and the character of Bilbo Baggins became once again the chief topic of conversation. And the other folks suddenly found their reminiscence in welcome demand. No one had more attentive audience than the old Camgee, commonly known as the Gaffer. He held forth the Ivy Bush, a small inn in the Baywater Road. He spoke with some authority, but for he had tended the garden. Oh my God. Thank you, Kinley for the follow. Both father and son were on very friendly terms with Bilbo and Frodo. They lived on the hill itself, on number 3 Backshot Row, just below Bag End. A very well nice and spoken gentle hobbit is Mr. Bilbo, as I've always heard. As I've always said, the Gaffer declared, with perfect truth, for Bilbo was very polite to him, calling him Master Hamfest, and consulting him constantly upon the growing of vegetables. In the matter of roots, especially potatoes, the Gaffer was recognized as the leading authority by all the neighborhood, including himself. But that was this Frodo. But what about this Frodo that lives with him? Asked old Noakes by the bywater. Baggins is his name, but he's more than half Brandybuck, they said. It beats me to why Baggins of Hobbiton should go looking for a wife away there in Buckland, where folks are so queer. And no wonder they're queer, put in Daddy Two-Foot, the Gaffer's next-door neighbor. If they live on the wrong side of the Baywine River, in the right gain on the Old Forest, there's a dark, bad place. But if half the tales be true, you're right, Dad, said Gaffer. But not, but not the Brandybucks of Buckland live in the Old Forest, but they're queer-bred, seemingly. They fool about with boats on that big river. That isn't natural. Small wonder that trouble came of it, I say. But that but be that as it may, Mr. Frodo is a nice young hobbit, as you could wish to meet, very much like Mr. Bilbo, and in more than looks. After all, his father was a Baggins. Decently respectable hobbit was Mr. Joggo Baggins. There was never much to tell him till he drowned. Drowned, said several voices, as they had heard his other darker rumors before. Of course, but hobbits have a passion for family history. They never really hear it again. So they say, the Gaffer said. You see, Mr. Jago married a poor Miss Primula Baydock Brandybuck. She was our Mr. Bilbo's first cousin on the mother's side, her mother being the youngest of the old Duck's daughters. And Mr. Jago was his second cousin. So Mr. Frodo was his first and second cousin, once removed either way. As the saying says, if you follow me, Mr. Jago. Oh my God. Oh, I'm losing the trail. Oh my God. Hold on. As the saying is, if you follow me, and Mr. Jago was staying at Brandy Hall with his father-in-law, old Master Gordobuck, as he often did after his marriage, him being partial to his vitals, and old Gordobuck keeping a mighty generous table. And he went out boating on the Brandywine River. He and his wife were drowned, and poor Mr. Frodo, only child and all. I've heard they went on the water after dinner in the moonlight, said old Noakes, and it was Drogo's weight as he sunk the boat. And I heard she pushed him. She pulled her, he pulled her in after him, said Sandyman, the Hobbiton miller. You shouldn't listen to all you hear, Sandyman, said the gaffer, who did not much like the miller. There isn't a there isn't no call to go talking of pushing and pulling. Both are quite tricky enough for those that sit still without looking further for those to cause trouble. Anyway, there is this Mr. Frodo left orphan and stranded, as you might say, among these queer Bucklanders, being brought up by anyhow in Brandy Hall. A regular warren, by all accounts. Old Master Gordebuck never had fewer than a couple of hundred relations in the place. Mr. Bibble never did a kinder deed than when he brought the lad back alive among decent folk. But I reckon it was a nasty knock, those Sackville Bagginses. They thought they were going to get Bag End. At that time when he went off, he thought to be dead, and then comes back and orders them off. He goes on living and never looking a day older, bless him. And suddenly he produces an heir, and that's all and has all the papers made out proper. The Sackville Bagginses won't ever see the inside of Bag End now, or is it to be hoped not? There is a tidy bit of money tucked away up there, I hear tell, said a stranger, a visitor on business from Michael Delving in the East Farding. All the top of your hill is full of tunnels packed with chests of gold and silver and jewels. But that's what I heard. Then you've heard more than I speak to, said the gaffer. I know nothing about jewels. Mr. Bilbo is free with his money, and there seems no lack of it. But I know no tunnel making. I saw Mr. Bilbo when he came back, a matter of 60 years ago. When I was a lad, I did not long come from prentice to old Holman, him being my dad's cousin. But he had me up at Bag End helping him keep the folks from trampling and trappezing all over the garden while the sale was on. And in the middle of it all, Mr. Bilbo comes up the hill with a pony and some mighty big bags and a couple of chests. I don't doubt they were mostly full of treasure he had picked up in foreign parts, where the mountains of gold, they say. But there wasn't enough to fill tunnels. But my lad Sam will know more about that. He's in and out of Bag End. Crazy about stories of the old days, he is. He listens to all Mr. Bibble's tales. Mr. Bibble has learned him his letters. Making no harm, mark you, but I hope no harm will come to it. Elves and dragons, I says to him, cabbages and potatoes are better for me and you. Don't getting don't go getting mixed up in the business of your betters, and you'll land in trouble too big for you, I says him. And I might say it to others, he added with a look at the stranger and the miller. But the gaffer did not convince his audience. The legend of Bilbo's hut was now too firmly fixed in the minds of the younger generation of hobbits. Ah, but he is likely enough to have been adding to what he brought first, argued the miller, voicing common opinion. He's often away from home, and look at the outlandish folk that visit him, dwarves coming at night, and old wandering conjurer Gandalf and all. You can say what you like, Gaffer, but Bag End's a queer place, and its folk are queerer. And you say what you like. But what you know no more than you do of boating, Mr. Sandyman, retorted the gaffer, disliking the miller more than usual. If it's being queer, then we could do with a bit more queerness in these parts. There's some not far away that wouldn't offer a pint of beer to a friend if they lived in a hole in golden walls. But they do things proper in Bag End. Our sense says everyone is going to be invited to the party, and there is going to be presents, mark you. All presents for all. This very month it is. And that very month was September, and as fine as you could think, as fine as you could ask, a day or two later a rumor, probably started by the knowledgeable Sam, was spread about that there were going to be fireworks. Fireworks, what is more, such as had not been seen since in the Shire for nigh a century. Indeed, since the old Took died. Days passed, and the day drew near. An odd-looking wagon, laden with odd-looking packages, rolled into the Hobbington one evening and toiled up the hill at Bag End. It startled the hobbits, peered out from lamplit doors to gape at it. It was driven by an outlandish folk, singing strange songs, dwarfins with long beards and deep hoods. A few of them remained at Bag End. At the end of the second week of September, a cart came in through the bywater from the direction of the Brandywine Bridge. In broad daylight, an old man was driving it all alone. He wore a tall, pointed blue hat and a long gray cloak and a silver scarf. He had a long white beard and bushy eyebrows that stuck out beyond the brim of the hat. Small hobbit children ran after the cart all through Hobbington, right up on the hill. It had cargo of fireworks, they were rightly guessed. At Bilbo's front door, the old man began to unload. There were great bundles of fireworks in all sorts of shapes and sizes, each labeled with a large G in the elf rune. Elf rune. It was Gandalf's mark, of course. The old man was Gandalf the wizard, whose fame in the Shire was due mainly to the skill with fires, smokes, and lights. His real business was far more difficult and dangerous, but the Shire folk knew nothing about it. To them, he was one of the attractions at the party, hence the excitement of the hobbit children. Gee, for grand! They shouted, and the old man smiled. They knew him by sight, though he only appeared in Hobbiton occasionally. He never stopped long, but neither they nor any of the oldest of their elders has seen one of his fireworks display. They now belong to a legendary past. When the old man held by Bilbo, and some dwarfs have finished unloading, Bilbo gave him a few pennies away. Not a single squib or cracker was forthcoming, to the disappointment of the onlookers. Run away now, said Gandalf. You will get plenty when the time comes. Then he disappeared inside with Bilbo, the door shut. The hobbits stared at the door in vain for a while, then made off, feeling the day the party would never come. Drink water, thanks. Oh my god. Inside Bag End, Bilbo and Geldof were sitting at the open window of a small room looking out west onto the garden. The late afternoon was bright and peaceful. The flowers glowed red and golden, snapdragons and sunflowers, and nasturtiums trailing all over the turf walls and peeping at the round windows. How bright your garden looks, said Gandalf. Yes, Bilbo, said Bilbo. I'm very fond indeed. All of that, all of the dear old Shire, but I think I need a holiday. You mean you go on your plan then? I do. I made up my mind months ago, and I haven't changed it. Very well. It is no saying any more. Stick to your plan, your whole plan, mind, and I hope you will turn out for the best, for you and for all of us. I hope so. Anyway, I mean to enjoy myself on Thursday, and have my little joke. Who will laugh, I wonder, said Gandalf, shaking his head. We shall see, Bilbo said. The next day more carts rolled up the hill, and still more carts. There might have been some grumbling about dealing locally, but at that very week orders began to pour out of Bag End for every kind of provision, commodity or luxury, that could be obtained in Hobbiton or Bywater or anywhere in the neighborhood. People became enthusiastic. They began to tick off the days in the calendar. They watched eagerly for the postman, hoping for invitations. Before long, the invitations began pouring out, and the Hobbiton post office was blocked, and the Baywater post office was snowed under, and volunteering assistant postmen were called for. There was a constant stream of them going up the hill, carrying hundreds of polite phrases of "Thank you, I shall certainly come." A notice appeared at the bag end: "No admittance accepted on party business." Even those who had or pretended to have party business were seldom allowed inside. Bilbo was busy, writing invitations, taking off answers, packaging up presents, and making some private preparations of his own. From the time of Gandalf's arrival he remained hidden from view. One morning the hobbits woke up to find a large field, south of Bilbo's open door, covered with ropes and poles and tents and pavilions. A special entrance was cut into the bank leading to the road, and wide steps and a large white gate were built there. The three hobbits family of Bagshaw Row, adjoining the field, were intensely interested and generally envied. Old Gaffer Gamgee stopped even pretending to work in his garden. The tents began to go up. There was especially a large pavilion, so big that the tree that grew in the field was right inside it, and stood proudly near one end. At the end, at the head of the chief table, leather were hung all over its branches. More promising still to the hobbits' mind, an enormous open-air kitchen was erected in the north of the corner field. A draught of cooks from every eating house for miles around arrived to supplement the dwarfs and other odd folk that were quartered at Baguette. Excitement rose to its height. When the weather clouded over, it was on a Wednesday eve of the party. Anxiety was intense. Then Thursday, September 22nd, actually dawned. The sun got up, the clouds vanished, flags were unfurled, and the fun began. Bilbo Baggins called it a party. But it was really a variety of entertainments rolled into one. Practically everybody living near was invited. A few were overlooked by accident, but as they turned up all the same. That did not matter. Many people from other parts of the Shire were also asked, and there were even a few from outside the borders. Bilbo met the guests and additions, and the new white gate in person. He gave away presents to all and sundry. The latter were those who went out again and back away and came back in by the gate. Hobbits gave presents to other people on their own birthdays, not very expensive ones as a rule, and not so lavishly as in this occasion. But it was not a bad system. Actually, in Hobbiton and Baywater, every day in the year was somebody's birthday, so that every hobbit in those parts had a fair chance of at least one present at least once a week. But they never got tired of them. On this occasion, the presents were unusually good. The hobbit children were so excited for a while they almost forgot about eating. There were toys like of which they never seen before, all beautiful and some obviously magical. Many of them had indeed been ordered a year before, and had come all the way from the mountain and from Dale, and were real dwarf make. When every guest had been welcomed and finally inside the gate, there were songs, dances, music, games, and of course, food and drink. There were three official meals: lunch, tea, and dinner or supper. But lunch and tea were marked chiefly by the fact that those times all guests were sitting down and eating together. At other times, there were merely lots of people eating and drinking continuously from 11 until 6:30 when the fireworks started. The fireworks were by Gandalf. They were not only brought by him, but designed and made by him. They were special effects, set pieces, and flights of rockets that were let off by him. But there was also a generous distribution of squibs, crackers, baracarackers, sparklers, torches, dwarf candles, elf founts, goblin barkers, and thunderclaps. They were all superb. The art of Gandalf improved with age. There were rockets that there were rockets like a flight of scintillating birds singing with sweet voices. There were green trees with trunks of dark smoke. Their leaves opened like a whole spring unfolded in a moment, and their shining branches dropped glowing flowers down upon the astonished hobbits, disappearing with a sweet scent just as they touched their upturned faces. There were fountains of butterflies that flew glittering into the trees. There were pillars of colored fires that rose and turned into eagles or sailing ships or oh my god, or phalanx of flying swans. There was a red thunderstorm, a shower of yellow rain. There was a forest of silver spears that sprang suddenly into the air with a yell like an embattled army, and came down again into the water with a hiss, like 100 hot snakes. And there was also one last surprise in honor of Bilbo. It started the hobbits excitingly. It startled the hob. Oh my god! Where the heck was I? Ah, it startled the hobbits excitingly, as Gandalf intended. The lights went out. A great smoke went up. It shaped itself like a mountain seen in the distance, and began to glow like the summit. It sprouted a green and scarlet flames, flew out a red golden dragon, not life-size but terribly lifelike. Fire came from his jaws, eyes glared down. There was a roar, and wheezed 3 times over the heads of the crowds. They all ducked, and many fell flat on their faces. The dragon passed like an express train, turned a somersault, and burst over the bywater in a deafening explosion. "This is the signal for supper," said Bilbo. The pain and alarm vanished at once, and the prostrate hobbits leaped to their feet. There was a splendid supper for everyone, that is, except those invited to the special family dinner party. This was held in the great pavilion with the tree. The invitations were limited to 12 dozen, a number also called by the hobbits one gross, although the word was not considered proper use for people, and the guests were selected from all the families to which Bilbo and Frodo were related, with the addition of a few special unrelated friends, such as Gandalf. Many young hobbits were included and present by the parental permission, for hobbits were easygoing with their children in the matter of sitting up late, especially when there was a chance of them getting a free meal. Bringing up young hobbits took a lot of provender. There were many Bagginses and Boffins, and there were also many Tooks and Brandybucks. There were various of Grubbs, relations of Bilbo Baggins's grandmothers, and various Chubbs, connections that of his Took grandfather, and a selection of Burrowses, Bulgars, Bracegirdles, Brockhouses, Goodbodies, Hornblowers, and Proudfoots. Some of these were only distantly connected to Bilbo. Some were hardly ever in Hobbiton before, as they lived in remote corners of the Shire. The Sackville Bagginses were not forgotten, although in his life Lobelia sorry, were present. They disliked Bilbo and detested Frodo, but so magnificent was the invitation card written with gold and ink that they felt that it was impossible to refuse. Besides, Cousin Bilbo had been specializing in food for many years, and this table had a high reputation. All of what about second breakfast? All of 144. Oh my god, sorry. All of 144 guests expected a pleasant feast, though they rather dreaded the after dinner speech of their host. Just do a little thing. Sec. Okay, now it should help. I made it a little too loud, sorry. Am I too loud now? Should I turn it down? Because I thought I was a little bit too low. From Am I yelling your guys' ear off? I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. I hope everybody is still comfy, even though I almost scared myself after that. Though they were he was he was liable to drag in bits of what they called poetry, and sometimes after a glass or two would allude to the absurd adventures of his mysterious journey. The guests were not disappointed. They had a very pleasant feast. In fact, an engrossing entertainment, rich, abundant, varied, and prolonged. The purchase of provisions fell almost nothing throughout the district in the ensuing weeks, but Bilbo's catering had depleted the stocks of most of the stores, cellars, and warehouses for miles around, and did not matter much. After the feast, more or less came the speech. Most of the company were, however, now in a tolerant mood. In that delightful stage which they called filling up the corners, they were sipping their favorite drinks and nibbling their favorite dainties, and their fears were forgotten. They were prepared to listen to anything to cheer at every full stop. "My dear people," began Bilbo, rising his place. "Here, here, here!" they shouted, and kept repeating on in chorus. It seemed reluctant to follow their own advice. Bilbo left his place and went and stood on a chair under the illuminating tree. The light of the lanterns fell on his beaming face. The golden buttons showed on his embroidered silk waistcoat. They could see, they could all see him standing, waving one hand in the air, the other in his trouser pocket. "My dear Bagginses and Bulfuses," he began again. "My dear Tooks and Brandybucks and Grubbs and Chubbs and Borrowises and Hornblowers and Bulgers, Bracegirdlies, Good Bodies, Buckhouses, and Proudfoot." "Proud feet!" shouted an elderly hobbit from the back of the pavilion. His name, of course, was Proudfoot, and well merited. His feet were quite large, exceptionally furry, and both were on the table. "Proudfoots," Bilbo repeated. "Also, my good Sackville Bagginses, that I welcome back at the last Bag End. Today is my 111th birthday. I am 111 today. Hooray! Hooray! Many happy returns!" they shouted, as they hammered joyously on the table. Bilbo was doing splendidly. This was the sort of stuff they liked, short and obvious. "I hope you are all enjoying yourselves as much as I am." Deafening cheers, cries of yes and no, noises of trumpets and horns, pipes and flutes, other magical instruments. There were, as has been said, many young hobbits present. Hundreds of musical krakens had been pulled. Most of them were born to mark Dale on them, which did not convey much of most of the hobbits. But they all agreed they were marvelous crackers. They contained instruments small but of perfect make and enchanting tones. In the end, in one corner, some of the young Tooks and Brandybucks, supposing Uncle Bilbo had finished, since they had plainly said what was all necessary, now got up an impromptu orchestra, and began merry dance tune. Master Everard Took and Miss Meliot Brandybuck got on the table, and with bells in their hands began to dance the Springle Ring, a pretty dance, but rather vigorous. But Bilbo had not finished. Seizing a herd from the youngest in reply, he blew 3 loud hoots. The noise subsided. I shall not keep you long, he cried. Cheers all from all the assembly. I have called you all together for a purpose. Something in the way he said it made an impression. There was almost silence. One or two of the thugs pricked up their ears. Indeed, for three purposes. First of all, to tell you that I'm immensely fond of you all, and that 11 years is too short of a time to live among such excellent and admirable hobbits. Tremendous outburst of approval. I don't know half of you as half I don't know half of you half as well as I should like, and I like less of the half of you and half as well as you deserve. There was unexpected This was unexpected and rather difficult. There was some scattered clapping, but most of them were trying to work out and see if it came out to a compliment. Secondly, to celebrate my birthday, cheers again. I should say, sorry, I had to burp. I should say our birthday, for it is, of course, also the birthday of my heir and nephew, Frodo. He comes of age into his inheritance today. Some perfunctory clapping by the elders, some loud shouts of Frodo, Frodo, jolly old Frodo, came from the juniors. The Sackville Bagginses scowled and wondered what was the meaning by coming to his inheritance. Together we scored 144. Our numbers were chosen to fit this remarkable total. One gross, if I may use the expression. No cheers. This was ridiculous. Many of the guests, and especially the Sackville Bagginses, were insulted, feeling that they were feeling sure that they had only been asked to fill up the required number, like goods in a package. One gross indeed, vulgar expression. It is also, if I may be allowed to refer to ancient history, the anniversary of my arrival by barrow at, oh my god, what is this? Esgaroth on the Long Lake. Oh my god. Ow. Sorry, my arm fell asleep. Where was I? Though the fact that it was my birthday slipped my memory on that occasion. I was only 51 then, and birthdays did not seem so important. The banquet was very splendid, however, though I had a bad cold at the time. I remember I could only say, "Thank you very much." And I now repented more, and now I repeated more clearly, "Thank you very much for coming to my little party." Of sustained silence. They all feared that a song or some poetry was now imminent. Sheesh. And they were getting bored. They couldn't. Why couldn't he stop talking and let them drink his health? But Bilbo did not sing or recite. He paused for a moment. Thirdly and finally, he said, I wish to make an announcement. He spoke the last word so loudly, suddenly everyone sat up who still could. I regret to announce that, though, as I said, 11 years is far too short a time to spend among you, this is the end. I am going. I am leaving now. Goodbye! He stepped down and vanished. There was a blinding flash of light, and the guests all blinked. They opened their eyes, and Bilbo was nowhere to be seen. 144 flabbergasted hobbits sat back speechless. Old Odo Proudfoot removed his feet from the table and stamped. Then there was dead silence until suddenly, after several deep breaths, every Baggins, Bowfin Took, Brandycook, Grubb, Chubb, Burrows, Boulders, Bracegirdle, Brockhouse, Goodboy, Hornblower, and Proudfoot began to talk all at once. It was generally agreed that the joke was in very bad taste, and more food and drink was needed to cure the guests of shock and annoyance. He's mad, he's mad, I always said so, probably the most popular comment. Even the Tooks, with few exceptions, though Bilbo's behavior was absurd. For the moment most of them took it for granted, as his disappearance was nothing more than a ridiculous prank. But old Rody Brandybuck was not so sure. Neither age nor an enormous dinner could cloud his wits. He said to his daughter-in-law Esmeralda, "There's something fishy in this, my dear, and I believe that bad Baggins is off again. Silly old fool. But why worry? He hasn't taken the vistles. Oh, maybe, yeah. Vistos with him. He called loudly to Frodo to send the wine around. Frodo was the only one present who said nothing. For some time he sat in silence beside Bilbo's empty chair, and ignored all remarks and questions. He enjoyed the joke, of course, even though he had been in the known. He had difficulty in keeping from laughter at the indignant surprise of the guests. But at the same time he felt deeply troubled. He realized that he loved the old hobbit dearly. Most of the guests went on eating and drinking and discussing Bilbo's Baggins oddities, past and present, but the Sackville Baggins were already departed in wrath. Frodo did not want to have any more to do with the party. Sorry, the FBI. This is more of a quiet thing, so we're not gonna put an FBI glaring in an ASMR moment. Was I still high as before? Oh boy. Mm-hmm. Ah, my moderator. Frodo did not want to have any more to do with the party. He gave orders for more wine to be served. He got up, drained his own glass silently to the health of Bilbo, and slipped out of the pavilion. As for Bilbo Baggins, when he was making his speech, he began fingering the golden ring in his pocket. It's his magic ring that he kept a secret for so many years. As he stepped down and slipped it on his finger, he was never seen by any hobbit in Hobbiton again. He walked briskly back to his hole and stood for a moment, listening with a smile to the din in the pavilion and the sounds of merrymaking in other parts of the field. Then he went in, took off his party clothes and folded it up, wrapped in tissue paper his embroidered silk waistcoat, and put it away. Then he put on quickly some old untidy garments and fastened around his waist a worn leather belt. On it he hung a short sword in a battered black belt scabbard. From the locked drawer, smelling of mothballs, he took out an old cloak and a hood. They had been locked up as if they were very precious, but they were also patched and weather-stained that their norm that their nor oh my god that their original color could hardly be guessed. It might have been dark green. They were rather too large for him. Then he went to his study. From a large strong box he took a bundle wrapped in old clothes, and a leather-bound manuscript, and also a large bulky envelope. The book and bundle were stuffed onto the top of the heavy bag that was standing there, already nearly full. Into the envelope he slipped his golden ring, it and its fine chain, then sealed it and addressed it to Frodo. At first he put on his mantelpiece, but suddenly he removed it, stuck it back in his pocket. At that moment the door opened and Gandalf came in. "Hello, Bilbo," said Bilbo. "I wondered when you'd turn up." "I am glad I found you visible," said the wizard, sitting down in the chair. "I wanted to catch you and have a few final words. I suppose that everything had gone off splendidly according to plan?" "Yes, I do," said Bilbo, "though that flash was surprising. Quite startled me, let alone the others. A little addition of your own, I suppose?" "It was. You have wisely kept that ring a secret all these years, and it seemed to me necessary to guess something else that would seem to explain your sudden vanishment." "And would spoil my joke? Interfe- you're an interfering old busybody," laughed Bilbo. "But I expect you know best as usual." Let me just do something real quick. Give me a second. This is an ASMR moment. Oh shit, it's using? No freaking way. Let me do it like that. Much better. I'm behind you. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is a lot better since I can't really move my mouth. Because I was like, why is my mouth not picking up a lot of my movements? Because I'm freaking whispering and my microphone doesn't pick it up. Ah, damn it. Okay, let's get back. Because if not, at this point, I'm gonna have a heart attack reading freaking Lord of the Rings, man. Is the text too light for you guys? You guys want me to make it a little bit more visible? Because I'm worried that it's a little too invisible here. Let me actually put it a little bit more here. There you go. I think I'm gonna do that. Give me a sec. I have no doubts that if I talk in my normal voice, my microphone is gonna peak like shit. Ow. Okay, let me see here. How's the rain sound for you guys? Turn it up just a bit. Is the rain too loud? Can you guys still hear me? Or is it like a little too much? Because I'm not really sure. I'm like so close to my microphone. It's not even funny. Okay, let's keep going. Where was I? Oh my gosh. We can hear the rain is good too. Good to know. Thank you. About my joke, busybody, expect the best. I do, when I know anything, but I don't feel too sure about this whole affair. It has now come to the final point. You had your joke, and alarm have offended most of your relations, and when give it the whole shire something to talk about for 9 days, or 99 most likely. Are you going any further? Yes, I am. I feel I need a holiday, a very long holiday. As I have told you before, probably a permanent holiday. I don't expect I shall return. In fact, I didn't mean to, and I have made all the arrangements. I'm old, Gandalf. I don't look it, but I'm beginning to feel in my heart of hearts. Well preserved indeed, he snorted. Why, I feel all thin and sort of stretched, if you know what I mean. Like butter that has been scraped over too much bread. That can't be right. I need a change, or something. Gandalf looked curiously and closely at him. No, it does not seem right, he said thoughtfully. No, after all, I believe your plan is probably the best. Well, I've made up my mind anyway. I want to see the mountains again, Gandalf. Mountains, and then find somewhere where I can rest, in peace and quiet, without the relatives prying around and a string of confounded visitors hanging on the bell. I might find somewhere where I can finish my book. I have thought of a nice ending for it, and he lives happily ever after for the end of his days. Gandalf laughed. I hope he will, but nobody will read that book, however it ends. Oh, they may, in years to come. Frodo has read some already. As far as it has gone, you'll keep an eye on Frodo, won't you? Yes, I will. 2 eyes, as often as I can spare them. He will come with me, of course, if I asked him. In fact, he offered once, just before the party, but he does not really want to. I want to see the wild country again before I die. The mountains, but he's still in love with the Shire, the woods and the fields and the little rivers. He ought to be comfortable here. I'm leaving everything to him, of course, all except a few oddments. I hope he will be happy when he gets used to being on his own. It's time he was his own master now. Everything, said Gandalf. The ring as well? You agreed to that, you remember? Uh, well, yes, I suppose to, stammered Bibble. Where is it? Or is it? In an envelope, if you must know, Bilbo said impatiently. There, on the mantelpiece. Well, no, here it is, in my pocket. He hesitated. Isn't that odd now? He said softly to himself. After all, why not? Why shouldn't it stay there? Gandalf looked again hard at Bilbo. There was a gleam in his eyes. Think, Bilbo, he said quietly. I should leave it behind. Don't you want to? Well, yes and no. Now, it comes to it. I don't like partying with it at all, I may say. But I don't really see why I should. Why do you want me to? He asked with a curious change came over his voice. It was sharp, a suspicion and annoyance. You are always badgering me about my ring. You have never bothered me about the other things that I got on my journey. No, but I had to badger you, said Gandalf. I wanted the truth. It was important. Magic rings are, well, magical. They are rare and curious. I was professionally interested in your ring. You may say I still am. I should like to know where it is. If you go wandering again, I also think you have had it quite long enough. You needn't any more, Bilbo, unless I'm quite mistaken. Bilbo flushed. There was an angry light in his eyes. His kindly face grew hard. Why not? He cried. And what business of yours, anyway? You know what I do with my own things. It is my own. I found it. It came to me. Yes, yes, said Gandalf. But there's no need to get angry. If I am, it is your fault, said Bilbo. It is mine, I tell you. My own. My precious. Yes, my precious. The wizard's face remained grave and attentive. Only a flicker in his deep eyes showed that he was still startled and immediately alarmed. It has been called that before, but not by you. But say it now, and why not? Even if Gollum said the same once. It is not his now, but mine, and I shall keep it, I say. Gandalf stood up, spoke sternly. You will be a fool if you do, Bilbo. You'll make that clearer with every word you say. It has gone far. It has got. Whoa. It has got far too much hold on you. Let it go. Then you can go yourself and be free. I will do as I choose, go as I please, Bilbo said obstinately. Now, now, my dear hobbit, said Elduff. All your long life we have friends. You owe me something. Come, do as you promised. Give it up. Well, if you want my ring yourself, say so, cried Bilbo. But you won't get it. You won't get it. I won't give you my precious away. I tell you. His hand strayed to the hilt of his small sword. Gandalf's eyes flashed. My back hurts. And I ate extra salty fries before this. So I'm not surprised I'm a bit peeved. Let me see, where did I end? Brushes, okay. Gandalf's eyes flashed. It will be my turn to get angry soon, he said. If you say that again, I shall. Then you will see Gandalf the Grey uncloaked. He took a step towards the hobbit. He seemed to grow tall, menacing. His shadow filled the little room. Bilbo backed away to the wall, breathing hard, his head clutching at his pocket. He stood there for a while, facing one another. The air of the room tingled. Gandalf's eyes remained bent on the hobbit. Slowly his hands relaxed, and he began to tremble. I don't know what has come over you, Gandalf," he said. "You have never liked this before. What is it all about? It's mine, isn't it? I found it, and Gollum would have killed me if I hadn't kept it. I am not a thief, whatever he said." "I have never called you one," Gandalf answered. "I am not one either. I am not trying to rob you, but to help you. I wish you would trust me as you used." He turned away. The shadow passed. He seemed to dwindle again to an old gray man, bent and troubled. Bilbo drew his hand over his eyes. "I'm sorry," he said, "but I feel so queer. And yet it would be a relief in a way to not be bothered with it any more. It has been so growing on my mind lately. Sometimes I have felt it as if it was like an eye looking at me, and I'm always wanting to put it on and disappear. Don't you know? Or wondering if it is safe, and pulling out to make sure." He tried locking it up, and I found I couldn't resist it without in my pocket. I don't know why. I don't seem to be able to make up my mind. "Then trust me," said Gandalf. "It is quite made up. Go away. Leave it behind. Stop possessing it. Give it to Frodo. I will look after him." Bilbo stood for a moment tense and undecided. Presently he sighed. "All right," he said with an effort. "I will." Then shrugged his shoulders and smiled rather ruefully. "After all, it is what this party business was all about, really. To give away lots of birthday presents, and somehow make it easier to give it away at the same time. It hasn't made it any easier in the end, but it would be a pity to waste all of my preparations. It would quite spoil the joke." "Indeed, it would take away any point I ever saw in the affair," said Gandalf. "Very well," said Bilbo. "It goes to Frodo with all the rest." He drew a deep breath. "And now I really must be starting, or somebody else will catch me. I have said good-bye, and I couldn't bear to do it all over again." He picked up his bag and moved to the door. "You still got the ring in your pocket," said the wizard. "Well, so I have, and my will and all other documents too. You had better take it and deliver it for me. That will be the safest." "No, don't give the ring. Don't give the ring to me," said Gandalf. "Put it on the mantelpiece. It will be safe enough there. Until Frodo comes, I shall wait for him." Bilbo took out the envelope. Just as he was about to set it by the clock, his hand jerked back, and the packet fell on the floor. Before he could pick it up, the wizard stooped and seized it and set it on its place. A spasm of anger swiftly passed over the hobbit's face. Suddenly it gave away a look of relief and a laugh. "Well, that's that. Now I'm off." They went out to the hall. Bilbo chose his favorite stick from the stand. Then he whistled. 3 doors came out of different rooms where they were busy. "Is everything ready?" Bilbo asked. "Everything packed and labeled?" "Everything," they answered. "Well, let's start then." He stepped out the front door. It was a fine night. The black sky was dotted with stars. He looked up, sniffing the air. What fun! What fun to be off again! Fun on the road with dwarfs. This is what I've really been longing for years. "Goodbye," he said, looking at the old home, bowing to the door. "Goodbye, Gandalf." "Goodbye. For the present, Bilbo, take care of yourself. You're old enough, and perhaps wise enough." "Take care. I don't care. I don't worry about me. I am as happy now as I have ever been, and that I say, and that is saying a great deal. But time has come. I am swept off my feet at last," he added with a low voice, as he to himself sang in the dark. "The road goes on and on, down from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road has gone, and I must follow if I can, pursuing it with eager feet until it joins me some larger way, where many paths and errands meet. Well, whither then I cannot say." He paused, silent for a moment. Then, without another word, he turned away from the lights and voices in the field and tents. He, followed by his 3 companions, went round into his garden, and trudged down the long sloping path. He jumped over a low place in a hedge at the bottom. He took he took to the meadows, passing. Ah, sorry, my back hurts a bit. Where was I? A rustle of the winds in the grass. Gandalf remained for a while staring at him into the darkness. Goodbye, my dear Filbo. Until our next meeting, he said softly and went back indoors. Frodo came soon afterwards and found him sitting in the dark in deep thought. Has he gone? He asked. Yes, he has gone at last. I wish I hoped until this evening it was only a joke, said Frodo, but I knew in my heart that he really meant to go. He always used to joke about serious things. I wish I had come back sooner, just to see him off. I think he preferred slipping off quietly in the end, Gandalf said. Don't be too troubled. He'll be all right now. He left a packet for you. There it is. Frodo took the envelope from the mantelpiece and glanced at it, but did not open it. You'll find his will and all other documents in there, I think. You're the master of Bag End now. Also, I fancy you'll find the golden ring. The ring! Exclaimed Frodo. He's left that? No wonder why. Still, it may be useful. It may not, said Gandalf. I should not make I should mm, I should not make use of it if I were you. Keep it a secret and keep it safe. Now, I'm going to bed. Oh my god. Hold on now. I need a little bit of a break. I'll be right back. Oh, okay, I'm back. I just had to go to the bathroom like really quick. Uh, Are you guys like enjoying the stream? Cause I'm not sure. Do you guys want me to keep going with the story? Cause I'm not sure if I'm really doing a good job. I feel a bit out of place, not gonna lie. I'm enjoying it. Yay! I'm really happy. I'm not sure. It's because let me see how much I like got for. Hmm. Hmm. I'm also really on it. Oh my god. I think it's. Oh my god. How are you still alive? Well, it's still 9 for me. But because I usually do night shift, I usually start getting sleepy right about now. And I'm playing some modded Minecraft. Play Minecraft while your VTuber friend reads Lord of the Rings. Now that's what I call one heck of a mood. But I think I'll try and read because I got an EPUB version of this. Let me see here. Oh my god, I'm still in fucking chapter 1. Are you kidding me? When does chapter 2 start? Oh my god. Wow. There's a lot. No, wait. Wait, 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 wait. I think this is where. Yeah, we're close to chapter 2. So, what I might do is. I'll keep going a bit since we're almost done with chapter 1, and I'll stop at chapter 2. Because then I gotta like download this whole freaking VOD so that I can post it on YouTube. Yay! So then it'll be a lot easier for people to come in. Because I think that I'm in a very heavy saturated market. It feels a bit weird to be reading a book once again, so I'm a bit out of place. And also, I don't know if my mic is any good because I didn't do tests. I was like, oh, just turn it up a notch. It'll be fine. No, I don't know. Okay, let me put the book back. Let's keep reading. Hi, YouTube. Hi, YouTube. All right, let's keep going. Um, as master of Bagan, Frodo felt it was painful duty to say goodbye to the guests. Rumors of strange events had by now spread all over the field, but Frodo would only say, "No doubt, everything will be cleared up in the morning." About midnight, carriages came for the important folk. One by one, they rolled away, filled with full but very unsatisfied hobbits. Gardeners came by arrangement and removed in wheelbarrows, and those that had inadvertently remained behind. Night slowly passed. The sun rose. The hobbits rose rather late. Morning went up. Morning went on. People came and began by orders to clear away the pavilions, and the tables and the chairs, the spoons and knives and bottles and plates, and the lanterns and the flowering shrubs in the boxes, and the crumbs and cracker paper, the forgotten bags and gloves and handkerchiefs, the uneaten food, a very small item. Then a number of people came without orders, Bagginses and Buffins and Bulgers and Toks and other guests that lived or were staying near. By midday, when even the best fed were out and about again, there was a large crowd at Bagan, uninvited but not unexpected. Frodo was reined on the steps, smiling, but looking rather tired and worried. He welcomed all the callers, but he had not much more than he had not much more to say than before. His reply to all inquiries was simply this: Mr. Bilbo Baggins has gone away, as far as I know, for good. Some of the visitors. Oh my god, I was like, why is my back hurting? I just noticed my back is curved. It was really hurting. Now it's not hurting as much, but I need a masseuse. Once I get rich, I swear to God. Um, no, for good. Some of the visitors he invited to come inside as Bilbo left messages for them. Inside, inside the hall was piled with a large assortment of packages and parcels, small articles of furniture. On every item there was a label tied, and there were several labels of the sort. For Adelar took, for his I'm so sorry. I just hit the mic as I was scratching my eye. Gotta get a good back crack. Oh my god, tell me about it. For Adelard took, for his very own, from Bilbo on an umbrella and a large carry of many unlabeled ones. For Dora Baggins, in memory of a long correspondence with love from Bilbo, on a large waste paper basket. Dora was Drogo's sister, and the eldest surviving female relative of Bilbo and Frodo. She was 99, and had written reams of good advice for more than half a century. For Milo Burrows, hoping it will be useful, from BB. On a golden pen and ink bottle, Milo never answered letters. From Angelica's use, from Uncle Bilbo. On a round convex mirror, she was young Baggins, and too obviously considered her face shapely. For the collection of Hugo Bracegirdle from a contributor, or on an empty bookcase, Hugo was a great borrower of books, and worse than usual in returning them. For Lobelia Sackville Baggins, a present, on a case of silver spoons. Bilbo believed she had acquired a good many of his spoons. While he was away on his former journey, Lobelia knew that quite well. When she arrived later that day, she took the point at once. She also took the spoons. This was a small selection of the assembled presents. Bilbo's residence got rather cluttered up with things in the course of his long life. It was a tendency of hobbit holes to get cluttered up, for which a custom of giving so many birthday presents was largely responsible. Not, of course, that the birthday presents were always new. They were 1 or 2 months or two old matoms of forgotten uses that had circulated all around the district, but Bibble had usually given new presents and kept those he received. The old hole was now being cleared a little. Every one of the various parting gifts had labels written out personally by Bilbo. He had at some point or a joke, but of course most of the things were given when where they were wanted and welcome. The poorer hobbits, especially those of Bagshot Row, did very well. Old Gaffer Gee got 2 sacks of potatoes, a new spade, and a wooden waistcoat, a bottle of ointment for creaking joints. Old Rory Brandybuck, in return for much hospitality, got 12 bottles of old Wynyards, a strong red wine from the South Farthing. Now quite mature as it had been laid down by Bilbo's father, Rory quite forgave Bilbo, and voted him a capital fellow when he first after the first bottle. There was plenty of everything left for Frodo, and, of course, all the chief treasures, and well as books, pictures, and more than enough furniture, were left in his possession. There was, however, no sign or mention of money or jewelry, not a penny piece or a glass bead was given away. Frodo had a very trying time that afternoon. A false rumor that the whole household was being distributed free spread like wildfire, and before long the place was packed with people who had no business there, but could not be kept out. Labels got torn off and mixed, and quarrels broke out. Some people tried to do swaps and deals in the halls, and others tried to make off with minor items not addressed to them, or with anything that seemed unwanted or unwatched. The road to the gate was blocked with barrows and head carts. In the middle of the commotion, the Sackville Bagginses arrived. Frodo had retired for a while and left his friend Mary, Mary Brandybuck to keep an eye on things. When Otto loudly demanded to see Frodo, Merry bowed politely. "He is indisposed," he said. "He is resting." "Hiding, you mean," said Lobelia. "Anyway, we want to see him, and we mean to see him. Just go and tell him so." Mary left them for a long while in the hall, and they had to discover their parting gift with spoons. It was not to improve their tempers. Eventually they were shown into the study. Frodo was sitting at the table with a lot of papers in front of him. He looked indisposed. To the Sackville Baggins, at any rate. He stood up, fidgeting with something in his pocket, but spoke quietly. The Sackville Bagginses were rather offensive. They began by offering him a bad bargain prices, as between friends, for various valuable and unlabeled things. When Frodo replied the only things were specially directed by Bilbo were being given away, they had a whole affair was very fishy. Not only one thing is clear to me, said Otto, and that is what you're doing exceedingly well out of. I insist on seeing the will. Otto would have been Bilbo, sir, if for not the audacious of Frodo. He read the will carefully. Hold on, let me drink some water. He read the will carefully and snorted. Was It was, unfortunately, very clear and correct, according to the legal customs of Hobbins, which demand, among other things, 7 signatures of witnesses in red ink. Foiled again, said his wife, after waiting 60 years. Spoons? Fiddlesticks! She snapped his fingers under Frodo's nose and stumped off. But Lobelia was not so easily to get rid of. A little later Frodo came out of the study to see how things were going, and found her still about the place, investigating nooks and corners and tapping the floors. He escorted her firmly off the premises. Oh my god, hold on. I don't know where the Hi Ronin. I don't know where the freaking ringing got hella loud. Of the premises or air premises. After he had relieved her of several small but rather valuable articles that had somehow fallen inside her umbrella, her face looked as if she was in the throes of thinking out really crushing parting remark. But all she found to say, turning around on step, was, "You'll live to regret it, young fellow. Why didn't you go, too? You don't belong here. You're no Baggins. You're a Brandybuck." "Did you hear that, Mary? That was an insult, if you like," Rhoda said as he shut the door on her. "It was a compliment," said Mary Brandybuck, "and so, of course, not true." When they went out when Then they went around the hole, and evicted 3 young hobbits, 2 boffins, and a bulgar, who were knocking holes on the walls of one of the cellars. For was also had a tussle with young Satchel Proudfoot, old Odo Proudfoot's grandson, who had begun on excavating in a larger pantry, where he thought there was an echo. The legend of Bilbo's gold excited both curiosity and hope, for legendary gold, mysteriously obtained, if not possibly ill-gotten, is, as everyone knows, anyone's for finding, unless the search is interrupted. When he had overcome Satchel, so wait, where's the overcome Satchel? Ah, when he overcame, when he had overcome Satchel and pushed them out, Frodo collapsed on the chair in the hall. "It's time to close shop, Mary," he said. "Lock the door and don't open it today, not even if they bring a battering ram." Then he went to revive himself with a blended cup of tea. He had hardly sat down when there came a sudden knock at the front door. Lobelia again, most likely, he thought. She must have thought of something really nasty and came back again to say it. "It can wait." He went on with his tea. The knock repeated, much louder, but he took no notice. Suddenly the wizard's head appeared at the window. "If you don't let me in, Frodo, I shall blow your door right down and in your hole and throw out the hill," he said. "My dear Gandalf, wait half a minute," cried Frodo, running out the room to the door. Come in, come in. I thought it was Lobelia." "Then I forgive you, but I saw her some time ago, driving a pony trap towards Baywater with a face that could have curdled new milk." She had already curdled me. She had already nearly curdled me. Honestly, I thought I nearly tried Bilbo's ring. I longed to disappear. "Don't do that," Gandalf said, sitting down. "Do be careful of that ring, Frodo. In fact, it is partly about that I've come to say a last word." "Well, what about?" "What do you know already?" "Only what Bilbo told me. I've heard his story, how he found it, how he used it, on his journey, I mean." "Which story, I wonder?" said Gandalf. "Oh, not the one he told me about the doors he put in his book," said Frodo. "He told me the true story soon after I came to live here. He said he had pestered him until he told you, so I better know too." No secrets between us, Frodo, he said, but they are not going to go any further. It's mine anyway. Interesting, said Gandalf. Well, what did you think of it all? If you mean inventing all about a present, well, I thought that your story was much more likely, and I couldn't see the point of altering it all. It was very unlike Bilbo to do so. Anyway, I thought it was rather odd. So did I. But things may happen to people that have such treasures. If they use them, let it be a warning to you to be very careful with it. It may have other powers other than just making you vanish when you wish to. I don't understand, said Frodo. Neither do I, said the wizard. I merely begun to wonder about the ring, especially since last night. No need to worry, but if you take my advice, you will use it very seldom, or not at all. At least I beg you not to use it in any way that will cause talk or rouse suspicion. I say again, keep it safe and keep it secret. You are very mysterious. What are you afraid of? I am not certain, so I will not say no more. I may be able to tell you something when I come back. I am going off at once, so this is goodbye for the present. He got up. At once, cried Frodo. Why, I thought you were staying for at least a week. I was looking forward to your help. I did mean to, but I have to change my mind. I may be away for a good while, but I'll come to see you again, as soon as I can. Expect me when you see me. I shall slip in quietly. I shan't often visit the Shire openly again. I find it that I have become rather unpopular. They say I am a nuisance and a disturber of the peace. Some people are actually accusing me of spiriting people away, or worse. If you want to know, there's supposed to be a plot between you and me to get a hold of his wealth. Some people, exclaimed Frodo. You mean Otto and Lobelia? How abominable! I would have given them a bag and everything else if I could get Bilbo back and go off tramping on the country with him. I love the Shire, but I began to wish, somehow, I had gone too. I wonder if I shall ever see him again. So do I, said Gandalf, and I wonder many other things. Goodbye for now. Take care of yourself. Look out for me, especially on unlikely times. Goodbye. Frodo saw the door, a final wave of his hand, and walked off at a surprising pace. But Frodo thought the old wizard looked unusually bent, almost as if he was carrying a great weight. The evening was closing in, and his cloaked figure quickly vanished into the twilight. Frodo did not see him again for a long time. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to cut it off here because that was one heck of a big chapter, and chapter 2 is ridiculously long. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope the rain did not disturb you guys too much. And I hope you guys enjoyed the little reduction I created. um it's just so in case you guys know, when I asked about the weather, it literally means behind me. Because I can actually change the weather. As you can see, we can go from rain to a nice day on the lake. Or we can go from the lake to a nice moonlit night. So if you guys would like a different weather, I can change it as much as you guys want. Let me go back to the freaking room because it doesn't make sense. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I kind of got this idea from what's the name of the movie? Treasure Planet, when Jimbo's mom changes the weather. It of course it changes the location, but change it. Think of it as a Howl's Moving Castle sort of deal. You know, we're changing the weather, not everything else. But I think I'm gonna leave it here for today. We're gonna keep doing it every day off I have, so you guys don't have to worry. We're gonna have the next one. Let me already leave it prepared so I can see where the heck I'm gonna do this. I forgot to send my schedule via email. Dang it. Well, I'll tell you guys via Discord in case there's anybody new here. Here is our Discord if you would like to join and vote for the next weather. We'll continue to read token unless you guys wish for me to read anything else. Of course, I'll read it. I think it's nice and fun. And I will be cutting off for today. Thank you guys so much who joined me for our first little cozy game talk. Thank you so much, Night. Thank you. Thank you, Vaka, and thank you, Ronan, for joining. Thank you so much for Kingly Wave for following us today on our first little cozy game. And I will see you guys. Thanks for watching. No worries. I will see you guys now on Thursday, where we'll probably be still playing Monster Hunter because I still haven't got my memory in. I'm so sad I haven't got my memory in yet. But also, just so you guys know, I received it. I have it in my hands now, both the fans and the memory. So I'll be able to get it everything up and running soon enough. So we'll be having a lot of fun soon. And then I'll leave the weather for. I'll probably put the weather tomorrow morning because even though it is pretty early, Uzbek weekend and next weekend, I can try and play it, but I'm not gonna promise my computer is gonna handle it. It's probably gonna be, you know, a little bit of a problem. And not only that, I gotta have. I wanted to show you this so you guys can see how much this blanket gives me problems. Um, just so you guys know, I had to literally remove my arms to get the blanket to look good because it looked awful. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know the shadows actually came like this. So now I actually look pretty good without my arms. Let me actually make it a little bit bigger. Just showing. There we go. Oh my gosh. So we'll be having fun armless very much. Because the problem is the furry things that are on my my maid outfit really hinder how the jacket look, the blanket really looks. So instead of, fighting it, I just took them off by using the multiply tool. But it's just for today's stream. Later I'll change it so that we can have it what's the name? We can have it a my gosh. We can have a normal video remodel. So I'll see you guys on Thursday for more Monster Hunter. We'll probably be playing the beta if everything goes well. Because the weekend, we have one day on the weekend where it's not the ASMR, and the next is the ASMR, so you guys don't have to worry a lot about it. So we'll keep doing it then. I hope you guys had enjoyed the night. I hope I made you guys as sleepy as can be, so you guys can have a nice little cozy night. And I'll see you guys later. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.